rising star of the Financial Services Committee, Mr. Bryan Steil of Wisconsin.
The gentleman is recognized.
I thank my friend from Pennsylvania, and I rise to oppose the previous question so we can immediately consider H.R. 8589. We heard earlier our friends across the aisle say that under this rule, which they can pretty much bring up any bill they so desire, they're going to address inflation. Well, count me excited that my colleagues across the aisle are finally ready to address inflation. Inflation brought upon all Americans by the reckless policies of Democratic one-party control. Reckless policies of starting this administration by spending $1.9 trillion. Reckless policies by refusing to unleash American energy. And Americans are paying the price for the reckless policies of Democrats here in Washington. It's early in the morning. People are making their way here up to the House floor, following a great victory by my Republicans in the congressional baseball game last night. 10-0, I may note. But what's really playing out across America right now is people can't afford the things that their family needs. I was speaking to a woman the other day in South Milwaukee at a gas station, and I asked her how much it costs her to now fill up her car with gas. And she looked at me and she said, "Bryan, I don't know, because I got 40 bucks, and 40 bucks doesn't fill up my tank with gas." Spoke to another woman who said, "Bryan, I can't take my daughter out to dinner on Friday night for pizza because I can't afford it because costs keep going up." Americans are suffering from runaway inflation, from the reckless policies from one-party Democratic control. We have an open rule. The Democrats could bring up any bill today. They could bring up any bill. Americans are getting clobbered with runaway inflation, energy costs going through the roof. This woman in South Milwaukee can't afford to fill up her car with gas. And what will we see the bills brought up today? They will intend to distract, to change the subject. They want to talk about bills that already passed the House. They want to talk about bills that have nothing to do with inflation, because they don't care about the woman in South Milwaukee who can't afford to fill up her car with gas. They don't care about the woman who can't afford to take her kids out to pizza on Friday night. And count me as darn surprised if we see legislation brought by the Democratic majority today that addresses the inflation crisis, that addresses the energy crisis. They're going to send everybody in this body home for the next month.
Speaker, I'll yield the gentleman an additional 3 minutes.
The gentleman is recognized.
I thank my colleague. They're going to send everybody in this institution home for more than a month with runaway inflation, interest rates going up so people can't afford to buy a house, an energy policy that refuses to unleash American energy so that this woman in South Milwaukee can't afford to fill up her car. Republicans have answers to the challenges of the day. And I thank my colleague from Arkansas for his thoughtful bill that would be brought up if we defeat this previous question, that would actually put a check on the runaway bureaucratic process that we see. This one attacks the runaway process at the Securities and Exchange Commission that should properly be named Securities and Environmental Commission. And my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, Madam Chair, really like renaming things. So I suggest while we redefine recession, we throw in redefining the SEC today. People are getting clobbered. The bill by my colleague from Arkansas is a pretty thoughtful approach. It says, hey, instead of all this additional regulation, these costs that get passed on to consumers at the end of the day, maybe what we do is we focus on getting some economic growth back, bringing inflation down. And so count me as excited if under this rule, and again, the Democrats could bring any bill to the floor on the last day. Is that bill going to be something that substantively and meaningfully addresses inflation? addresses energy costs, or are they going to bring up another topic to distract the American people from the crisis that is playing out across our country? Count me as shocked if we see a bill that addresses inflation today. Madam Chair, I'll yield back.